So Kirk, are you saying that people that don't set goals are going to make more poor decisions? Yes. So choices come from an evaluation of where am I going and what's going on right now. So let me say that again. And you notice I slowed down with this. So listen carefully. Choices come from where am I going, the evaluation of where am I going and what's going on right now. So I'm going to make a choice based upon where I'm going or what I'm doing. Because now there's this situation where, oh, here's something. How am I going to make a choice in this moment? Well, that has to do with where I'm headed in life. Like what's my plan, my purpose, where am I headed? And so these choices then determine how that's all going to happen. Now, if somebody doesn't have a direction, their choices in the current moment are going to be based upon what? Which is interesting. So when I hear somebody with lots of problems, my very first question I ask is, well, where are you headed with your life? Where are you going? And guess what the common answer is to somebody who has a lot of problems? The answer is, I don't know. So I've connected over the last 18 years that people who have lots of problems also don't know where they're going. They don't know. And so here they have a bunch of problems that they're dealing with that are self-imposed. The 70-80% of their problems that are self-imposed, they don't know how to fix them because they just sit there spinning on the same problems over and over and over again, which will drive a person crazy and make you feel like you're broken and it's just hopeless for you. But they don't have a direction. They've thought about it, but they're not really working towards a particular direction of where they're headed, where they're going. And so I've connected that over the audiences over the last 18 years. And when somebody's like, well, I got this problem, this problem, this problem, I go, okay, before we talk about those problems, tell me, where are you headed? And it's usually pretty fragmented and kind of broken up and not very clear. But there's a big difference between that person and then another person who says, hey, I'm trying to fix a problem. And I say, oh, where are you headed? Well, I'm going this way. That person has identified a problem and they have this higher level of confidence. They have this higher level of capability and they're like learning about what to do to fix that problem. So the sum of this is usually people who have a lot of reoccurring problems is because they have not picked a direction or a goal or a way in where they're headed to. And so that's usually part of the problem is that they're not heading somewhere. They're not going somewhere. And so they go to make choices based upon whatever's going on in the moment. It's not based upon where they're headed. Now, I know that kind of sounds different to think of it that way, but I know for myself personally, I had a lot of reoccurring problems. And when I was introduced to the concept of goals, like really like setting a goal and heading towards a goal, and I really was like, wow, maybe this is my thing. I'm missing out on actually heading a direction. When I started setting my first couple of goals and like started working towards them, I noticed that my choices that I made were different because now I'm actually headed somewhere. I'm going somewhere. I'm building something. I'm doing something. And so my choices were based upon those goals that I was doing. For example, if I had a goal to go to the gym every day and exercise, and I go to the gym at 6 o'clock every morning, and then someone says, hey, do you want to go do this thing? And I say, oh, when is it? Oh, it's at 6:30 tomorrow morning. I then would evaluate my goal and go, oh, well, I go to the gym at 6 every morning. Then that's going to help me make the decision if I participate in this activity or not, because I have a goal. And then if I'm sitting down to a meal and somebody says, hey, Kirk, do you want a big, juicy piece of pie? And I was like, wow. And they're cutting me this massive piece of pie. My choice of how much pie to eat is then going to be evaluated based upon where I'm headed, my goals, where I'm going. And then I'd go, oh, wow. Hey, guess what? I'm trying to let go of a few, trying to let go of a few pounds. And instead of giving me like half the pie, how about just give me a sliver? Just give me a sliver of that, because then I can taste it, but I don't have to like consume the half the pie. And so then my choices were based upon my goals. So now my choices were different because I had a goal. And so then they cut the pie at a smaller slice, and then I'm able to taste it and really be like, wow, this is amazing. But I didn't have to add a pound on or two because of all the ingredients of that pie. I didn't have to eat that much. But my choices changed because I had a goal. I had an outcome. I had a direction I wanted to go. So I could validate this for hours, that people who have direction in their life actually make different decisions because they have something to measure it to see how it's going to affect them. I've also seen this in entrepreneurs. Successful entrepreneurs have goals. They have outcomes that they're working towards. And they're very clear, and they work on reviewing those goals every single day. People who are entrepreneurs who don't have goals don't make it. They go belly up, and then they got to turn around and go back to finding a job and work for somebody else. That's usually the failing of an entrepreneur, is unclear goals and how they go about processing those goals. So they made poor decisions. And so that messed up their business and it didn't work. And so when people don't work towards goals, they have a lack of direction. And so they make choices that cause problems, and the problems cause them to not move forward. Does this make sense? Is this clicking with you? People who don't have a direction don't have a way to evaluate choices. And because they can't evaluate the choices very well, they actually make a choice that's less of a quality decision. And then now it causes problems. And then there you go. So Kirk, are you saying that people that don't set goals are going to make more poor decisions? Yes. Look across the people you meet, look across the people you see, look at what the people are doing who have goals. They're a lot more clear about their choices and they get where they're going. And look at people who don't have goals or destinations picked. Look at what happens to them. They end up spinning around in the same old issues over and over and over and over again. But Kirk, wait, I do set goals, but I'm spinning in my issues. Okay, well, let's differentiate that. There are people who pick goals, and then there are people who actually actively work on their goals every day. That's a clear difference too. So now we have people who pick goals, and then we have people who actively work on their goals every single day, right? So there is some differences there, some layers of people in that realm. So I need to retract my statement of people who pick goals and say people who actively work on their goals every day. Now, how do you work on a goal though? First is like picking something like, oh, I want to go this way. I want to improve this. I want to be better at this. And then now it's like, oh, I'm going to work on that goal. Well, when it comes to working on goals, there's two parts. There's one, which is training your mind about that goal. And then there's number two, which are the daily activities that you do that moves you towards that goal. There's inside work and there's outside work. So there's inside your body work, meaning training your system to tune into that goal. And then there's the exterior work where you're actually doing the work that accomplishes that goal. Like say, for example, you wanted to be able to run a mile. Well, if you're only thinking about running a mile, but you're not going outside and going for a walk or running from here to the stop sign, physically, you're not doing anything to get to that goal. You're only thinking about the goal. And unfortunately, there are a lot of goal pursuers who spend more time thinking about it and not the equal amount of time actually physically doing something to accomplish that goal. And just so you know, if you want to be able to run a mile, you have to be able to run from here to the stop sign and back, right? And so then you go from here to the stop sign and back, and then to the stop sign and back, and the stop sign and back. And that starts to build up over time, but you still got to be talking to your brain and saying, hey, I'm going to be running a mile. And so you're tuning your mind and seeing yourself run that mile, and you're physically doing the activity to build up the strength and the stamina and the flexibility to be able to run that mile. So there's inside work and outside work. So when you're talking to your friend who's having reoccurring problems, you need to ask them, hey, do you have any goals that you're working on? And if they say no, okay, that explains why they have so many reoccurring problems. And then you get to suggest to them and say, hey, I'm going to help you to build your confidence, build your capabilities, and also build your ability to make better choices. Because part of solving reoccurring problems is we have to be able to make better choices.